Today we're going to compare my Lumix G7 to the Sony A7R. This is not a comparison. So when I say this is not a comparison, I mean I'm not comparing stats between these cameras. What I'm comparing is mobility, ease of use, and just simple user-friendly interactions. So when you look at something like this that can go to 300 millimeters versus something like this, now this lens goes to 600, but for today I'm just going to run it to 300. But you can see a massive difference between the two. So the A7R, it's a nice camera, don't get me wrong. I probably wouldn't put this kind of cash into a camera. This guy runs like, this is $10,000 in my hand right now. This down here is nowhere near that, and even a full frame Lumix is nowhere near that. But this guy here, we're gonna run it through its paces. Normally for a wildlife photo, I would probably use a tripod and stuff like that. But today we're just gonna run and gun because I wanna show you guys the difference between the weight, the carryability, and the stability between the two cameras. So I went with this bigger lens here. It goes to 600. My little guy here goes to 300. So I'm testing back and forth at 300 on this lens too. And this camera already weighs probably 4 times the amount my other one does. And I know you can get smaller lenses, but come on, this is what people usually go for when they're doing their photography on this type of system. I was going to do some street photography, but I thought that was a little bit ridiculous for that. And that's another reason too, is when you're out in the street doing street photography, this is a lot more inconspicuous than that. So you got to pick your battles on those. And it's not about which camera takes a better photo. It's all about which camera is more practically suited for your needs. Don't get me wrong, this is a fantastic camera. I'm having a lot of fun shooting with it. You can definitely tell this requires a lot more than this, because when we started, this battery was at 70% and now it's at 40, and I've taken about 20 photos. Whereas my Micro Four Thirds camera here is currently at 98%. I've taken the same amount of photos. So I lost 2% on this, and I lost 25-30% on this. Obviously this just takes a lot more power to run the system than this does, but that's another fallback to this, as nice as it is. You know, at the end of the day, it really is personal preference. I can tell you right now, I have much more enjoyment shooting on this than I do on this. That's my personal preference. But this lens, this 600 millimeter lens, makes me really want to get, there's a 600 millimeter lens for this, which, because it's Micro Four Thirds, he times it by 2. So from a 600, I can get 1200 millimeters, which is awesome. But again, so if you're looking at systems and you're thinking you don't want to lug this around, have a look at Lumix's Micro Four Thirds systems, as well as OM system. They make Micro Four Thirds as well, and you'd be surprised at just how much the difference is. I should obviously state that this lens here is a better quality lens than the one on my Lumix Micro Four Thirds camera in terms of size of glass. You can get comparative lenses to this on this system, but just this is what I have, and this is what I'm doing this carryability test with. This is not about image quality. This is about carryability. This, with the right lens, can do everything this can do. You just have to buy that lens. Oh, we got out of the bush there. Now, you can choose to use something like this. You can choose to use something like this, and your pictures will be good. Or, if you just want to take photos, nothing wrong with this. Works too. So the big moral of the story here is that there is no such thing as a wrong camera, only a wrong mindset. You can take photos with one of these guys, or even a little disposable. You're only limited by your focal length and your imagination. So get what works for you, not what seems popular at the moment. Doesn't matter if the camera is 10 years old, 1 year old, or 50 years old. Just get out and create some cool stuff. Okay, round 2, Micro Four Thirds, full frame. We're downtown, we're gonna do some street photography. Now, a lot of the times with street photography, people can be kind of shy, so you usually are gonna use a slightly longer lens just so you're not in their faces. And the problem is when you're walking around with a big camera, everybody looks at you. So something like this is a little bit more discreet. It's a little bit more easier to do street photography with. Street photography is one of my absolute favorites to do. That's why we're going to do this. So we're going to go downtown, shoot with this for a bit. Then we're going to switch to the big camera that I have in my backpack. Can't have it out while I'm using this because then people will look at me still. So let's get at it. We've got the big camera out now, and I'm sure we're going to get way more looks now. But this is essentially the biggest difference between Micro Four Thirds out here and this one. I'm going to limit myself to 300, just like I did with the other camera.
You should have brought the 360.
Well, I thought about it, but I really didn't want to deal with a crap ton of reframing and stuff like that, because it's such a pain in the butt to constantly have to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
So that's why, like, 360 cameras are great and all, but they do have their limitations when it comes to post-production. So this one, see, now, like, it's funny because, like, with the other camera you were like, oh, how do you balance being a good photographer and a stalker? Well, this is now leaning into the stalker realm.
Fair enough.
This doesn't count.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's a lot more weight. It's a lot more work. This thing is still so much more like weight than my other camera. So much more. 100, because that's what my Lumix can do right now with the lens I have. I could do this with Lumix, but you know, I got to spend the money on that lens. Speaking of spending money on photography equipment, this is probably about as best a time as any to mention. If you guys think I spent 10 grand for this YouTube video, you're nuts. Got this camera from McBain Camera, and they have a rental program there where you can rent cameras, lenses, lighting equipment, all kinds of things. And so when you're in need of something and you just don't have it, and maybe you got commissioned for an event and you don't have the right lens, and you don't want to spend $2,000-$3,000 on a lens, go down to McBain and rent one. It's way cheaper, it's easy, and they've got locations all over Alberta. So going in and getting this was, I don't know, 6 minutes of my time. Like, it was literally nothing. And they were super helpful, got me exactly what I needed to do this video. And so I just recommend highly you guys go check out McBain Camera. They've got locations all across Alberta, and they'll set you up for sure. Ooh, motorcycle in an alley. That's class. Let's go to this corner right here. Ooh, that's a good shot right there. Let's go to 200. That's cool. That'll be a good shot. Yeah, that'll be a really cool shot.
Yeah.
What do you take pictures of?
Everything.
They're not being made.
Who's that again?
What?
Who's that?
I have no idea. But you see, if I had my small camera, they wouldn't have noticed me.
Yep.
Take the pictures of it. It doesn't matter. You know, one thing people don't really understand is when you're out on a public street like this, you have zero expectation of privacy.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no rule saying I can't take pictures. There is, however, a line of respect that you should abide by, and if people are really uncomfortable, don't take pictures of them. That's another reason why these big cameras are as great as they are for photos. Maybe they're not the best thing for street photography, because you're putting something a lot bigger in people's face and it makes them uncomfortable. Another reason to use micro four thirds. So we're back onto the Lumix, the smaller camera. We're gonna just do another walk around, see how people don't react to this, and go from there. Obviously, like I said, this lens isn't as good a quality as the lens on the other Sony. That does affect things, but even if I had an equally good lens on this in terms of glass quality, the package would still only be about this big and about that big around. So my profile still immeasurably smaller than the last one. So let's get to it. Yeah, when you're downtown here, there's like a lot of good things down here, and a lot of like, what do you do things, but like it's an awesome place. So yeah, I love downtown.
Someone should write a documentary about it.
Right? Somebody should do a documentary about downtown Lethbridge. Oh wait, episode 1 of Unvarnished Lethbridge is on my channel. I'll put a video at the end here for you.
You think I scripted that, but I didn't.
That was good. Let's go this way up to 5th, and then we'll loop back and call it a day.
Good.
So street photography is supposed to have its own grit. It's supposed to have its own personality, because you're not polishing it up. You're not shooting some wedding or something like that where it needs to look super crazy good. What you're shooting is culture, which you're taking pictures of what the culture is around your area. And so when you shoot things, don't overthink them. Just look where people usually don't, and you'll find all kinds of things that are amazing to photograph. Even just simple everyday things that people overlook. When you think about overlooking things, think about it this way. Every one of us over here in Canada and in the US or whatever will go to Paris in France and be in awe of the Eiffel Tower. But Parisian people don't care about the Eiffel Tower. And it's not because it isn't awesome, it's just because they see it every day. So sometimes street photography is just about pointing out those things you walk past every day without realizing how incredible your own neighborhood really is. So a couple other things I just want to mention too about the differences in cameras is, yes, Sony cameras, they're like any of those like brand new cameras, whether it's Sony or Lumix or Canon, they've all got higher resolutions, they've all got higher systems, but sometimes having 60 megapixels and all that is actually a hindrance. As a photographer, you need to learn your intentionality first. You need to learn how to shoot without cropping, without changing anything, and with getting it in a shot or two. I'm not saying anything's wrong with shooting 20 pictures and then picking one that's your favorite, but I am saying it's a lot more efficient of your time and energy if you don't have to cull 1,000 photos in Lightroom. I'll take 100 shots, 60 to 80 of them are what I wanted, and that, in my opinion, that's where the skill really comes into play. You can have a 64 megapixel Sony Alpha camera or a Canon, what's the newest Canon? It's off the top of my head right now, but you can have all that and that's great. But at the end of the day, that makes you more of an editor than a photographer. And if your main goal is telling stories through photography, then I strongly encourage you to understand the craft over the tech. Shoot with intention. Shoot with minimal cropping needed, minimal editing if possible. And sometimes you got that creative edit and that's fine. But shoot with intention.
At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what kind of camera you're using. As long as you're, getting out there and using your imagination. You can use stuff like the Lumix Micro Four Thirds. I highly recommend these for anybody, whether you're a hobbyist, you're getting into doing it professionally, you're getting beyond other things, because honestly, like, it is such a low profile. Like, there's nothing wrong with this, but like, come on, there's no argument. And ease of use with this, if you're, say, somebody with physical limitations, maybe you're older or you have some sort of limitation, this is going to be easier for you to carry around, it's going to be easier for you to operate, it's going to be easier for you to keep stable. So, in the end, in my opinion, I believe Micro Four Thirds wins, because there's a plethora of different lenses that you can buy for this, and you can find all of those on McBain's website as well. Go check that out for sure. I will leave a link to their website in the description. And honestly, this is going to win for me hands down. Like, this has a cage on it and it's still a much smaller profile. And so when you want to purchase your first camera, your second camera, third, 10th camera, honestly, look into Micro Four Thirds. Probably the only time I don't recommend it is if you are doing a lot of nighttime photography. And I know the OM Systems is good for astrophotography, but like nighttime street photography and stuff like that, you might get some struggles with it, but you can also just compensate with a faster lens, and that will help a little bit anyway too. Plus, Lightroom has tools to compensate that as well. So I mean, really at the end of the day, there's no reason not to give a Micro Four Thirds camera a try for anybody, whether you're a professional or not.